10 pounds of gold, baby.
Look at that belt, bro. Look at that robe, more importantly. Now that's a robe.
Yeah. Dave LaGreca, that is a robe.
Yes.
Not that crap that you have on. That
Fuck
is
Dave
a
LaGreca.
robe. Thank you.
Woo!
What up, baby?
Bad blood.
There was a good amount of blood.
There was.
How you feeling,
Welcome,
Big Daddy?
everybody. Welcome. I am Rebel Brian. Below me is Yankee Tommy, and we are here to talk about the Bad Blood aftermath. Man, that's just fun to say. Bad Blood aftermath. Math. But we are excited to talk about this pay-per-view. It was amazing. Kudos to Triple H for putting on one hell of a show. And I absolutely did not get up for a single match. And that's rare for me. Usually I'm like, next up is a women's match. I better go to the bathroom. But it was a great pay-per-view from start to finish, and we're going to go into in-depth coverage of what the aftermath of Bad Blood was and what it's going to look like moving forward. So Tommy and I have had discussion before the show, and we've got some good points that we're going to lay down for you, a little bit of concrete. And I'm excited, Tommy. I'm excited to see where we're going to go after Bad Blood.
Yeah, because like you said, there wasn't a match that was bad on the card, which is rare for a WWE PLE. So the fact that I sat there and I didn't get up once and I was holding my bladder just to get to the end, that tells you how good it was. But man, I just want to just say this. There were a lot of returns last night, but they were impactful. As we unpack them, you'll kind of start to understand why, because you had The Rock, the final boss, make his return since the Raw after Mania. Jimmy Uso made his return since the Friday after Mania. And then you had Raquel come and attack Rhea after months being on the shelf. So there's a lot to unpack here, but I'm excited. So let's jump right into it.
Let's jump into it. We started the pay-per-view off last night with Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk in Hell in a Cell, and it was a bloodbath. Like I'm literally still in awe that CM Punk can go like that. I mean, we know he did it in AEW. He had a lot of matches with MJF that ended up bloodbaths and everything, but man, this match it took both of these guys to their limits.
Yeah, and I'm actually happy that a pay-per-view being called Bad Blood, that they actually allowed the amount that they did. Because you'd think under a Vince regime, there's going to be really little to none at all. It's just there for the name. But the fact that Drew his whole face at one point was just covered in blood.
Yeah.
Punk was covered. They were dripping all over the mat. But just the storytelling with it, it pushed that match to another limit and hopefully finally close this chapter, because this could go down as the feud of the year.
Yeah.
In totality, I think it has that potential.
I had some great points of this match, and then there was a couple points of the match was just campy to me, but the wrenches were fun. The suplex off the apron was amazing into the table, but the thing that was campy about it was, here we thought Drew was going to unleash a whole bag of thumbtacks, and it was beads from bracelets, and I was like, okay, I get it. We're going to finish the story here, but I was like, that is the campiest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, I'm like we're high school, we're elementary school children setting, and we're fighting over our bracelets that we made at home, and here's a
I'm like,
whole thing of
I'm like, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, really,
yeah,
really. Like the past two times someone's brought out a bag, we think it's thumbtacks, and it's not thumbtacks at all.
yeah.
It's just the bracelet and then pieces to put together the bracelets, and I'm like, come on, just give me some tacks.
I
Give me some
did like
tacks.
the ending with Punk wrapping the chain around his leg and doing the GTS on Drew
Yeah,
to get the win. That was really nice
they
because it was
really
like
tied a lot of their matches and story into that match. You know, you had Drew giving Punk a low blow like Punk gave to Drew. You had the chain being brought back into the fold, the bracelet for the campiest reasons, as you call it. But that match was called cathartic. And if
yeah,
you know Brian and all, that is a
yes.
very special word.
It is a very special word, and I heard Corey Graves say cathartic, and I was like, wait a minute,
Hold up.
this is epic. And but all in all, it's a great match. I like I said, I love the fact that they did the wrenches to get the blood going and everything. I thought that was really cool. Um, I still think that the toolbox shot of to Drew was edged, and I think that's one of the main reasons that he was bleeding so much because I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
Punk didn't get the toolbox turned in time, and he got him with an edge
Oh,
of
he
it.
he whacked him good. I saw
Yeah,
the replay. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
oh, God. And then, so the shot that really just made my body hurt wasn't even something that one did to the other. It's when Drew went to go Claymore Punk and he missed and went tailbone on the steel steps. My
yes,
lower back started to hurt so bad just from watching that. I'm like, oh my God. Like his back was already hurt, and that just made mine hurt thinking about it.
yeah.
Oh.
I think he misjudged the landing on it, and that was just a horrible
I think
spot.
he was trying to land on the steps, like just land back on the steps, and he totally misjudged it and hit tailbone. I'm like, oof, oof.
So do you think that this actually finishes that story that we'll see them have rivalries with other people now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's over. I mean, I had heard that Drew had some legit, like injuries he had to attend to afterwards, so he might be kind of off in the distance for a little bit, which gives Punk, an opening to kind of jump into something fresh and something new as we start to kind of get on the road to WrestleMania right now. After Survivor Series really kicks that off. So it'll be interesting to see what they have for him going forward, given the one logical person that he would be in with Seth Rollins is currently with Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
So kind of leaves a lot of questions that I guess we'll find out tomorrow night on Raw. But
Bad Blood Aftermath. So
Bad Blood
I
After
can't quit
Dark.
saying it. But again, CM Punk picking up the win against Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell. Big push for Punk on a match like that, and he does have a better record in Hell in a Cell than Drew did. Drew's never won a Hell in a Cell match, and which is funny because you'd think with the guy's size that he would win a Hell in a Cell match, but now Punk I think is 2-3, something like that, or three and
I think
four.
he's three. I thought for some reason, because I like how they had the stats like on the screen as they were walking up. I think that's a cool touch to give people some context. I thought he was 2-2,
Yeah,
which
so I
might
guess
make
he's
him three
three
and
and
two, but I could be wrong. If someone can check that and let us know. But yeah, he is around 500 in Hell in a Cell matches, which honestly isn't bad at all.
no.
Um, but yeah, I mean that match lived up to what I thought it would. I did like that they brought back the old style Hell in a Cell structure, and it wasn't colored red
Yeah,
So I liked all that. We're going back to the roots of it all, and I thought, given the confines that they're under, I thought it was a good match. Like, and a great way to start the night too.
You disappointed they didn't go up the cage?
Yeah, I mean that would have been fun, but there's no Shane O'Mac here, so they probably had no reason to.
Yeah, that's true. Which I would have liked a little bit of fighting on top of the cage and they got down or whatever, but it still a great match. Still a great
Yeah,
match.
yeah.
And
I wish there was a little more physicality. I thought often at times there were too many breaks in between stuff. Like it took kind of too long to set some stuff up, and there's a lot of pandering to the crowd, which I get obviously to a degree. You need to get the crowd involved, but also you need to put grit to the grindstone. It's Hell in a Cell. Like, I like, the matches where, you had Taker chasing Shawn around the ring, and like creating those spots there. And I thought if there's a little more kind of cat and mouse, I thought it would have maybe added a little bit of a more deeper element to it. But I thought it was a good match.
yeah, absolutely. Great match. And that brings us to our second match of the night, and that was Nia Jax versus Bailey.
Please
I
pull up a photo. we
Oh
got
my
we gotta get a photo for Bearded and get our queen on here.
he's absolutely not a Nia Jax fan, but I love the dominance of Nia Jax on this match. I really felt that she was solidifying herself as one of the greatest women champion of all time. That it's just hard to maintain her. Now Bailey had a couple momentum moments and things like that, but this was a uh, definite Nia Jax base. I don't want to call it a squash match because it definitely wasn't a squash match, but Nia just she's doing her Karanas. She's doing things that we've never seen Nia Jax do.
She's being unleashed. She's
Yes,
actually being kind of free, and she's not kept in the confines of like a giant per se, because she's probably the tallest female and just the strongest female on the roster. So it's like she's not being pigeonholed in like a big show role where we're just doing giant moves. She's doing moves that people at her size shouldn't be doing or probably can't do. And like you mentioned, she's not having squash matches. Like it wasn't like SummerSlam 2016 when Lesnar started Suplex City on John Cena to be the undisputed champion. Like it wasn't that, but you're still seeing a level of dominance from her that we haven't seen from any women's champion in recent memory. So
yeah,
it's nice to see her finally get her due and get the run she should have had her first go around. Now that Triple H is in charge and really given her the freedom and the ability to grow.
disappointed no Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, I was hoping we'd see her, but at this point, I don't know when she's gonna be coming back.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
it's
mean, how
so
long
weird.
is too long? It's like, do you bring her back at the Rumble now? But then it's like just a what if, and I've heard no inkling of her being, training or doing anything. So I don't know if she's still hurt, if she's just doing stuff outside. I don't know, and I don't know what to make of it either, because I mean, it's not like they need her, but the division could you. I mean, it would get a significant boost having her there. And
Yeah,
I mean, the matches she could put on with like a Bianca, Jade, women of that stature, they could put on great matches.
yeah.
But
I,
right now, there's just the lone horsewoman. That's Bailey.
Yeah, and it's and I'm the same way. I mean, it would be a good option to do it, but I understand the entire Tiffany storyline right now, and you had to bring that into fruition a little bit that she was going to try to cash in, and this is going to end up being a good story once they start pulling the trigger on it.
Yeah, and I think for Tiffany, I think they're pushing her storyline so well because there's no definitive thing where she's like, I'm cashing in, I'm cashing in. She like comes in, interferes, distracts, acts like she's going to, but then actually doesn't. So it gives Tiffany some like, well, hey, I got plausible deniability. I didn't cash in nothing. Like I was coming to help you, Naya. But then Naya's like, why are you out here? like you running down, you're gonna cash in on me. So it's just creating that little bit of friction that's just gonna keep building and building until eventually Tiffany, snaps and just cashes in on Nia, and it'll be the biggest win of Tiffany's career. And it's not gonna do Nia a bit of hurt when she loses because she's having such a good run that it's gonna be well warranted, and no one's gonna be like, "Oh, you lost to Tiffany Stratton."
Yeah,
Like it's
absolutely.
and it's those kind of stories that where you win even in defeat, where we're not used to that as WWE fans in the recent memory.
Yeah,
Like normally if you lose, it kind of does some hurt to you. But
yeah,
now it's like you can get a win-win even in a loss, which just bolsters the division.
absolutely. Is anybody other than Tiffany cashing in? Are they anybody has the availability to defeat Nia Jax at this point?
I mean, not on SmackDown. I mean, not unless they really start to push the Jade Cargill narrative, because that's really the only woman I could see that could actually beat Nia. Because help my memory. Did Nia? I don't think Nia beat Jade clean. Did she? Like it
I
wasn't a
don't think
clean one,
so.
two, three. So there is that, and that led to Nia being Queen of the Ring. So
Yeah,
when are they going to pull the trigger on that story?
yeah,
Because I think there was some hints of it on SmackDown where Nia was kind of talking down to them and kind of like get out of my way. So maybe at some point they pull that trigger, and maybe that leads to Tiffany cashing in. I don't know, but it's really Jade and then really nobody else.
yeah. I agree 100%. I think that Jade is really the only one that could go toe to toe with Nia at this point. I mean, it's there's nobody. I mean, that Naomi, Bailey, nobody
She's
really
been
that.
lackluster since she came back, to be honest.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean it doesn't make sense for Bianca. It's really Jade or bust until a cash in,
yeah,
or let's say they bring one of the women in that, whether it's Delta, Bakur. I know Julia's in NXT, so she'll be there for a little bit. But, besides the one match that Stephanie Bakur had in a live event, I haven't heard much from her.
no,
And Delta has been radio silent. So those are other, so some other, things that could happen down the line. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
yeah. But all in all, a really good match, a good match to again solidify Nia as the women's champion because she looked dominant in this match. Just other than a few momentum spots from Bailey, just dominant, absolutely dominant. And you can tell that Nia's toning up, and she's able to do a lot more things that she wasn't able to do, years ago.
Yeah, and call me prisoner of the moment before we switch, but I honestly say that's the best match of her career up to this
Yeah,
point. I think
yeah,
it's the best match, bell to bell, that she's had.
just dominant, especially coming off of those ropes and just freight training Bailey a bunch of times. I mean, it was just her emotion and
Uh,
everything just makes those spots even better. So
yep.
big kudos to Nia for that. We move on to the next match of the Bad Blood, and that is Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. To me, if I was going to give a not the match of the night, I would say this was definitely not the match of the night, but it was still a great match because you did have a little bit of Judgment Day interference and things like that. But in which I really thought Finn Balor was going to win because he hit the coup de grace and hit sling blades and everything, and you thought, man, this is going to be it. And then he goes for another coup de grace, gets choke slammed, and then there we go.
I thought given how this story was built up and that we're at a Bad Blood pay-per-view that they might have had like a street fight or something like that to really build up the physicality, because to me, all the matches on the card were great, but to me, this match was on the bottom
Yeah,
of all of the others,
yeah,
which, I mean, fitting for its placement being right in the middle. But I thought they could have done a lot more with this match. To me, it was kind of a lot of the same old, Judgment Day interference, and it wasn't anything super crazy. And I thought more could have been done to kind of close this chapter if you're going to close the chapter, or prolong it if you're going to. But to me, it left a little to be desired. But I mean, still overall, I thought it was a good match.
Can I say, however, that JD McDonough can take a bump because he got lawn darted over the top rope toward the end of the match.
I mean,
I
he's kind of like Nick Nemeth in that way. Like, he can just take bumps and he can sell and make you look like $1,000,000.
Dude, he got air. I mean, absolutely got air. I'm like, he's dead, dude. He is straight up dead.
It reminded me of that Rey Mysterio getting lawn darted by Kevin Nash into the
Yes,
truck.
WCW, man. That
I thought I thought Ray was dead. I thought his head was knocked off.
yes, that Monday Nitro, man.
Oh,
That's I remember that moment watching it live. I'm like, Rey Mysterio will never come back from this.
no, and then was there the one time, not to get too off track, but when he was strapped to one of those like boards, like on a gurney, and didn't like Brock Lesnar swing him against the
Yes,
post?
doesn't pay to be the small guy every now and then
Not
in
at all.
WWE.
Not at all. But I mean, I thought it was a good match. Do you think that this is kind of the end of their story, or do you think there's still a little more at this point to tell?
There may be a little bit more to tell. I think that you don't have anybody prepared for Damian Priest to start a new rivalry at this point. So I think that you could probably see another match of this caliber on Raw and maybe finish it that way. But there's still some stuff to be left open with it. And of course Damian Priest picking up the win against Finn Balor last night. But it if I saw a rivalry that was taking place, this one could still move on.
Yeah, I think before it's all said and done, I think because you saw Finn Balor had a little bit of face paint on his face, wasn't a
Yeah,
lot, but I'm like seeing that face paint. I'm like that really makes me, before this is all said and done, want to see some iteration of the Demon Finn Balor.
yeah,
Because I feel like he's kind of been waiting in the wings for so long because he's been a baby face for so long. And I feel like now that you're really tapping into that heel role, you either got to make him the NXT Prince that is dominant, or you need to make him the Demon and
yeah,
really channel his alter ego to really get some wins here, because he's been losing a lot. Let's be honest, he hasn't
yeah.
won a whole lot of matches lately. So for a heel, I know that can kind of start to derail them after a certain amount of time. So at some point, he's got to get back in the winner's circle too.
Well, the only way I see this story ending is starting a feud for the tag team titles. That's the only thing that I can see that will stop that rivalry from taking place.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, at this point, there's really, I mean, not a whole lot of tag teams, which is
No,
surprising to me because they're either enthralled in a rivalry or they're honestly in NXT. Like the tag team division, I thought would be a lot better, and it
yeah,
really hasn't gotten much better. So I really don't know how to feel about it.
yeah, and now you got like tag teams like New Day, and you got Xavier Woods taking on Jey Uso for the Intercontinental title tomorrow night. So it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, and I mean, I think you're going to get the return of the Viking Raiders. They had that little teaser, and then I'm pretty sure they teased the Motor City Machine Guns
Yeah,
last night. So um, we'll see if the Motor City Machine Guns come. That'll be a nice kick in the pants of the tag team division.
yes, it
It might
will.
be the catalyst. Who knows? But I do want to say, you noticed the SmackDown Fist logo, right? You saw that
Yeah,
in the beginning of the video, which
yeah,
probably going to get my hopes up that that'll ever return. But We'll see.
Um, but all in all, not a bad match. Just if I were putting it on the card, it would be at the bottom. The
Yeah.
Priest and Finn Balor match. But we'll see. We'll see after the Bad Blood aftermath if we still have a story to go with
The Bad Blood Aftermath.
aftermath, and we'll see if Finn Balor and Damian Priest do have a continued rivalry here. So now the next part of the pay per view I enjoyed a lot, and this was just like two or three things that were playing off at the same time. And then there was one thing I didn't like, but you already know what that is. But Triple H comes out, has a message for everybody, and Tommy, what was that message?
That at Crown Jewel, there's going to be a match between the WWE champion and the World Heavyweight champion for the Crown Jewel Championship.
What a belt!
The belt design is gorgeous. It is a gorgeous looking belt. But then again, we're adding another belt. So, like, is that person going to have to wear that belt all year round and then it's once a year they defend it? So each reign is a guaranteed year? Like,
I don't know.
like what is it? Because if you're facing off as, the two, well, actually, hold on. It's men's and women's. He did
Yeah,
say
men's
that.
and women's.
So so at this point it'd be Nia Jax versus, why can't I think of the other women's champion?
Live.
Liv, duh. Nia versus Liv, which, good lord, good luck, Liv.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then Cody versus Gunther at this point. So, and it's just like, what do you do with this belt? Is it one of those things that you have for the night and that's it? And then it's just, hey, like it's just kind of like an achievement on your mantle. Like, hey, I was the Crown Jewel champion. I'm the best world champion we have. I don't know. It's confusing because War Games used to be, well, Survivor Series War Games used to be head to head, mano a mano, who's the best.
Yeah,
Now let's move into Crown Jewel. So I'm very confused.
yeah.
Very confused.
But like 50 carats in this belt.
It's a gorgeous belt. I mean, like
Unbelievable.
I would trade that belt and swap it out with the undisputed belt because that
Yes.
thing is gorgeous. It is gorgeous.
Which if we have those two matches for Crown Jewel, Cody and Gunther match would be decent. Uh, I think the Liv and Nia match would be a squash, hands down, because Liv's smaller than Bailey, she's smaller than Naomi, and it's just I'm like unless you can make Liv look dominant against someone like Nia Jax, it's not going to be much of a match.
See, I'm kind of torn with this because Nia has the ability to work well with any size competitor. She's able
Yeah,
to make them look good. So I think Liv would get her licks in. But at the end of the day, I don't see her pinning Nia's shoulders to the mat. 1, 2, 3. I just don't.
no, not without help from Dominic or something like that.
And even that, Dom might get lawn darted.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, I don't even think he's stronger than Nia. Let's be real.
yeah. So
So it just kind of confuses me a little bit. What I mean, maybe we'll find out more, but it was very confusing that we're having a belt made to be the best of the best, but like when you have a belt, it normally gets defended. So like in theory, if let's say Gunther wins and he eventually loses the belt, does he lose that championship too? Like, does that go with whoever holds that belt until it gets defended? Like, I
maybe
just,
maybe it's like King of the Ring that it's just an accomplishment that you receive whenever you win that particular match.
but then why have a belt for it?
That's
That's my whole
true.
thing. Why have a belt for it if it's not going to be defended? Because that's what belts are made for,
That's true.
be
That's
defended.
true.
So I'm very confused.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
have
we'll
to
get
more
some
questions.
clarity.
I I mean we need it. I didn't watch the press conference, so maybe they cleared some stuff up when Triple H talked that we don't know about. I'd have to watch the press conference after this to find out, but it'll be interesting to see what that layout is.
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of Gunther, we got a appearance by Gunther coming out to Triple H, which let's face it, man, he's a good looking champion.
He is like just the classic. He makes that look better than Cody makes it look.
Oh yeah,
Because I think Cody kind of forces the issue of like I want to be that old school world champion that dresses nice and does this, that, and the other, and I'm kind of getting sick of it.
yeah,
Whereas like Gunther, that's just his aura, his gimmick. It's just he looks like a world champion, and he's doing his best work right now. And hopefully he can smash the piss out of Sami Zayn tomorrow night because I'm just so sick of that man currently. I'm so sick of him. He's just like JR said, he's a pimple on the ass of life. That's what Sami Zayn is right now.
my wife was like, take a shower, comb your hair and your beard, So I'm like, I don't understand the push for Sami Zayn. I don't understand it. Never will understand it. But we did have a lot of legends in the
A
attendance
lot of
last
them.
night. DDP, you had X Pac, you had Booker
It's
T,
Scott
Jacqueline,
Steiner. Scott
and Mickey
Steiner
James. You also had Goldberg in attendance.
with his son and wife.
Yes,
Gunther played off of the commentary he had with Bret Hart when Bret Hart was on Raw. And I love the fact that he calls him Bill Goldberg. it's it's just it's just so funny because there's that reel of Bret Hart saying Bill Goldberg like every 2 seconds, and then every time I hear Gunther say it I just crack up laughing because I just think of that video. You know
so
what, Bill Goldberg? The problem about Bill Goldberg is that Bill Goldberg thinks that he's better than Bill Goldberg, and Bill Goldberg is not better.
well, Gunther calls out Goldberg, and so we have a little bit of disrespect going on, and Gunther tells him that I said that you were my favorite growing up, and that's not true, and just jab after jab after jab.
Well, and what got him up out of his seat was he told Goldberg that he hopes he's a better wrestler than a father,
Yes,
which got him out of his seat and got him heated, saying, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
yeah,
Teasing a little bit of them, and the one thing I did hear from the press conference was that Triple H, again, the WWE line, never say never to one more match with Goldberg. I don't think they need to have this. I think it's just kind of fun to play with that fantasy versus reality. Like I was telling my fiance last night, I like the fact that they can have these legends come back and the crowd watch the match
yeah,
and not have to be forced into a storyline. Like it can just be, hey, Booker T, Jacqueline, Mickey, all these people are here just to kind of watch the show versus having to be interjected into a story for no reason.
yeah. It's and can we take less security occasionally? I mean, they had 30 people out there trying to keep Goldberg back. I'm like, it doesn't take 30 people to keep Goldberg back. I mean, it just
Well, let's
and I
just
know that
say by WWE standards, it might take 30 because they're all a bunch of scrawny dweebs anyway.
they did an aerial view, and I'm like, man, it looks like a war zone out here. All these security people and all this trying to keep everybody back.
I think they had more people go after Goldberg than they did Diddy when they raided Diddy's house. I mean,
You had to go there, didn't you?
I sure did.
Wow.
Real spicy on a Sunday morning.
Just
Oh,
WWE just didn't use a lot of lube.
and
Good grief.
it's not lube, it's baby oil.
Baby oil, I'm sorry.
Baby
I'm
oil.
sorry.
Good God.
Jesus. But then, of course, after the Goldberg fiasco, we have Sami Zayn coming in to save the day. Blah blah blah. I'm just like I said, I'm tired of Sami Zayn. I just can't. I can't get behind him. Can't be like, yay, Sami Zayn saved, and he got retribution for everything. And it's just it's. I,
He's just there. He doesn't make serve any purpose besides he's just there. And I wish it made sense so I could kind of understand it, but it's literally like he just chameleons his way into just different storylines just because he's trying to be the eradicator of all the bullies. And I'm like, that story is so 10 years ago, it's disgusting.
he's trying to be a modern day John Cena.
He ain't anywhere near
Uh,
not even close to John Cena. That's what Cody Rhodes should be doing. Because
yeah,
Cody Rhodes is in that position. But Cody Rhodes is currently twiddling his thumbs and
getting beat up every week.
correct. Jesus.
But I like the spot. It was nice, and Triple H coming out announcing a new belt, which again we'll get more clarification on the when they release the information on it of how does this even work. But Crown Jewel would be again it's almost kind of like a mini WrestleMania that Crown Jewel is turning into because folks in Dubai love professional
Oh,
wrestling, bro. They are absolutely in love with it. So
yeah.
got this
Yeah.
huge event and it's I'm kind of cool that we get two pay-per-views in or PLEs in November. I'm old
Yeah.
school. I still say pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah, so do I. Occasionally I'll get it right, but I'm just so used to pay-per-view that I mean it's the same thing. You're
It
still
is.
paying technically to view it,
Yeah.
but anyway. Yeah, it's kind of nice that Crown Jewel's kind of become this staple of the PLE card
Yeah.
because they've been going there for years now, and it's just kind of one of those things that's like, all right, when we go into Crown Jewel, because that's when they tend to have the really big, souped up matchups that they don't normally have, and so it, that crowd is always juiced up. There, I mean, really all the international crowds. I love that they're doing a lot more international shows because all of those fans deserve to see the wrestling too, and you can
Yeah.
tell how invested they are the whole night. I mean, you can almost hear them over the announcers. They're so loud.
I agree with that. And it's so we'll have Crown Jewel and we'll have a Survivor Series coming up in November, which War Games should be
And I'll say this:
interesting.
if William Regal isn't out there to declare war games, I will riot because now he's able to be on TV. Now
Yes.
he better say war games, otherwise I will have a fit.
So we'll see what happens at Crown Jewel. We'll see how this new title situation will work out. But again, beautiful belt. Just
Gorgeous.
Triple H just stepping up the belt game and trying to give us what we want. So, which
Give me
is
what I
pretty.
want. Give
All
it
right.
to me.
So last two matches of the night we had Liv and Rhea. Which thank you so much WWE for listening to us and making us look like prophets as we
As
as
Dominic suspended into the
Dominic
sky of the
in
shark
a
cage.
Shark Tank. That's we've said it countless times. This is the only way that this rivalry is going to finish is by putting Dom in a Shark Tank and putting him up in the air. Excellent
The
idea.
only thing that would have made it better is if it was legit above the ring, but I get with the Hell in the Cell structure that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna hold that too much against them. But yes, we are Nostradamus.
Yes, we are. We can totally say that now.
I mean, it's not a coincidence that several instances we say this is gonna happen and it happens.
Absolutely. But again, a match that I really enjoyed. I love the fact that we had a special entrance. We had Dom getting pinataed and just beat to death with a kendo stick
That was
and falling
beautiful.
out of the cage, and which that was a spot that I was like, man, please don't let this go wrong, because if it is, we got
He
some
could have got her.
problems.
Yeah, yeah. I was a little nervous because I thought he was gonna just try to get out, hang, and just fall down. But then when he kind of tripped out and lost his balance and fell out and was holding on by a chain, I'm like, oh, good God. He was hanging
Yeah,
there for a while. And then when he just got pummeled by Rhea with that kendo stick, it was beautiful. Very cathartic is the word I
very
could use there.
cathartic, very
Very
cathartic.
cathartic.
Even though I'm a Dom fan, I still think that it was a great spot, and a little just kind of funny that he was being used as a pinata, and him being Spanish, and I was like, well, that's a little
I
I don't
honestly,
know.
I honestly didn't even put two and two together on that one. That's kind of funny.
I
Yikes!
just I was like, is this PG, or is I'm like, that's a little iffy
I was waiting
on
for the.
the, which we had the low rider and all that too, and
I
very
thought
heady.
I thought that was a nice little tribute to Eddie there. I thought
Yeah,
I would be okay if Dom continues to come out in the lowriders. I think that'd be cool because I mean Vicky Guerrero was seen. I want to say it was it SmackDown when they were on the seat on USA. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they showed her in the crowd.
yeah,
So she might be in the fold somehow, some way down the line. Who knows? But I'm sure she gave Dom that blessing too, because I'm sure he asked. And seeing him in that lowrider, I thought was a nice touch, and I honestly hope it continues because I think it'll just add to his character.
yeah. He is still so hated, bro.
I know he's the only one who can turn heel after already turning heel. That's how good this guy is. He turned heel twice. He turned even more heel.
So what did you think of the match?
I thought it was a good match overall. Ag- Again, given it was bad blood and given the amount of juice that's in these stories, I kind of wish they're just in their wrestling. There's just a little bit more physicality.
Yeah,
I feel like it's still a little too much crowd pandering and not enough beating somebody's ass. So I wish there was a little bit more of that. But that's really the only thing I have to say about it. I thought it was a good match. I was very surprised with Raquel, her coming back after dealing with the skin condition I know she had and the injury. So it's nice to see her back. I was just very surprised that they
yeah.
picked that time to do it. But I mean, that essentially ends their rivalry, right?
Can we give props though to Liv for the front facing code breaker off the top rope?
That was that was
That was absolutely sick. I'm like, where did you learn or thought about this was going to be a good idea? But it was so just well orchestrated.
it was very good.
Very
It
good
was
spot.
very
I
good.
was like, I kind of did that. Oh my God, while I was watching it last night, I'm like, that is a sick move.
Yeah. And we don't need to have all the flips and tricks and you want to call like WWE glorified gymnastics. Well, think again. Look at Ricochet and Will Ospreay and tell me that's not choreographed
Yeah,
gymnastics.
absolutely.
Jesus. This match
But
was good.
I again with you was surprised with Raquel. I think that it was a pleasant surprise because
Yeah.
we haven't seen her in so long. And of course, her and Rhea having a little bit of a rivalry as well. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, Raquel and Liv were tag champions together, so they're friends. So maybe it's not completely over between them in a sense, but having Raquel in there is definitely going to be a change of pace because Rhea's actually got somebody her size, her strength, the stature that can kind of go toe to toe with her and give her a little bit more of a challenge.
Does this put Rhea on the back burner for being world champion now?
A little bit, but she'll have her opportunities. Everyone's going to be gearing up for the Royal Rumble here soon in the next couple months, so that's an easy ticket. And I mean, you really got two. Three. You have Royal Rumble, King and Queen of the Ring, and Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
You got three opportunities coming up here in the next few months that'll get started off again. So you'll have your opportunities.
yeah.
But I think for now it might be good to get her away from it to kind of build up the women's division again.
I agree 100%. And of course, that's going to start the rivalry with Raquel and Rhea, which may keep this Judgment Day versus Terror Twin thing going because now is Raquel a part of Judgment Day?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because then I feel like the Judgment Day is just going to get too big. And it's
Yeah,
not going to really mean as much. Because really, the Judgment Day was the original four that they had.
yeah,
Like, I don't see this new Judgment Day as the Judgment Day. I think Raquel is an independent contractor. I think she's friends with Liv. And hey, it may have been just a one off to kind of get Rhea away from Liv to focus on Raquel. So we'll see. But I think Raquel's more of an independent contractor than going to just jump with the Judgment Day.
gotcha. Kind of like a hired bodyguard.
Hired gun, yeah.
Yeah,
The
but all in
Diesel
all,
to the
good.
Sean. The Diesel to the
Yes,
Sean.
Diesel Sean. Yeah, and this will be interesting to see how this works out, and we'll find out maybe tonight how it's going to pan out because it's bad blood aftermath.
That's right. Aftermath.
So let's jump into the main event, which was full of surprises. Good grief.
I mean, the stories that were told during this match, the branches of the stories that were created, I mean, you can, but it's just cinema. That's really
Yeah,
all this has been is cinema. And it is literally, I think, obviously the brains of The Rock and Triple H mainly because I think without The Rock's background in movies, I don't think it's as good. And that's just my opinion because when you're able to put on a Avengers like storyline with the family members, it just elevates everybody in that story. And I thought Roman getting the pin on Solo was what was needed there, and also leads to more questions about Roman beat Solo. Is Roman going to get the Ulafala? Is he going to get that back? Which is kind of almost like the glove that Thanos has with all the
yeah.
jewels on it.
Infinity
That's
Gauntlet.
like, yep, that is the Infinity thing that Roman is searching because that gives Roman his power. Almost like Taker's urn, almost. It's kind of gotten to that, at least for me, it's gotten to that level of um, legend, we'll
Yeah.
call it. So I thought the whole kit and caboodle was beautiful.
Oh, it was other than Cody looking very weak. I don't know how you can even have a match like this and make your undisputed champion look as weak as they did last night.
Well, I mean, look, his booking the past several months has been awful. Let's just start there. Um, I mean, week after week, it's been, he comes out, he ends up getting just beat down by the bloodline every single week. So he's looked very weak in that aspect. And then the last time we spoke, you know, we had the issue where Cody said he's done. And then 20 minutes later, he's back to team up with Roman to fight the bloodline. It's like, I don't know if they have a clear path for Cody, what this whole thing is, because I feel like they've really done this whole finishing the story a disservice after the fact because none of it's made any relevant sense to me.
Let's talk about the horse in the room, and that is the return of Jimmy Uso, which was absolutely written gold. And the fact of the emotion that Jimmy brought, and also the fact that now Roman has backup,
Yep.
which is huge in this rivalry. And we talked about it a few weeks ago, is that you're going to have to build that reckoning now with the old bloodline and the new bloodline, and you can't just keep Roman trying to fight off four guys every single week. You've got to have some kind of backup.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like we talked about before the show, I personally think the last stone to be laid down before the anticipated War Games match between the two bloodlines, I think you're going to have the wise man be that last final stone to be set. So then Roman's like, it's game time now.
Yeah,
Like, with Paul Heyman in his corner, Roman's almost invincible.
yeah.
And if you can get the wise man to come back in his corner, I think you'll see an elevated sense of urgency for Roman. And when he wins and puts that Ulafala back on, all will be right in the WWE universe.
How long do we have left on this story? I mean, this
Well,
could go
what
on
was it?
forever.
What was it? It wasn't this past, but the year before when he beat Cody the first time, he said they're only in the third or fourth inning
Yeah,
of their 9 innings of wrestling. So could be another 2 3 years. I don't know, but when it's all said and done, it's going to go down as one of the greatest stories ever told.
in professional wrestling history.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Um, but my big thing, and I harp about this a lot, but I need an answer. There's no way you have this story continue without bringing in main event Jey Uso because he was the right hand man to Roman Reigns in the bloodline when it started. How do you not have him in this because they're all baby faces now? How do you get him from Raw being the Intercontinental Champion in this story? Because there's no way you can have it without Jay. Am I right?
I would say so, just to be honest, because Jay has got so much history with Roman and his brother Jimmy, and of
And
course,
his younger brother Solo.
yeah. So you have to have Jay at some point jump ship and be able to jump in and say, okay, I've got to help out with this rivalry.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how. How do you get him over there? Because you got a lot of things that could be potentially in the way for him to go over there. Like, does now Heyman have to be the recruiter to get Jay to come over?
That's that's
I don't know.
that would be a good option.
I mean, because that way everyone else is on SmackDown. Heyman goes about where he wants anyway. He plants that last seed and get Jay over. And then whenever Hikuleo is going to decide to jump in and join the fray, because he's been signed for a couple months now.
Yeah.
So it'll
Or
be
do we
interesting.
just or do we just see The Rock and Hikuleo joining this and having their four?
Yeah. The Rock, I foresee The Rock going on the side of Solo Sikoa.
Really?
Yeah. Um, just the way The Rock was when he came out, and then if you were able to watch his Instagram live, he went into a little bit in depth. It was like a 5-minute video, and he was talking about how he's pissed off, but wouldn't say what he was pissed off about. He said you'll have to. The Rock will tell you when he's ready to tell you. So it just makes me think with the mannerisms he did, kind of cutting the throat like that, that Roman and him are done. And this is just kind of the beginning of the end of that partnership. Um, which could maybe, eventually see if, let's say, The Rock, for argument's sake, brings in Hikuleo to this mix to join his brothers Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. That kind of leaves Jacob Fatu on the outskirts. And if he gets kicked out, well, there you go. There's your fourth member to help Roman out.
Yeah.
Heyman could be planting that seed anywhere that Jacob turns. There's a lot of ways it can go. But
Could
whatever
we
they
see The
decide,
Rock playing the wise man for Solo?
possibly. I think if you get it to a point, which storyline to me, here's what makes sense. Eventually, you have Roman reclaim the title of the tribal chief, get Zulafala, all that stuff. If you've done any research into this and you're a nerd like I am, the High Chief is the highest title that you can hold in Samoan culture, which is what The Rock's grandfather held. I'm pretty sure what Afa and Sika held after the High Chief died. How perfect would it be if The Rock assumes the title of the High Chief, thus usurping Roman, because Roman's a tribal chief, and you have The Rock as the High Chief?
Wow. That's a good point.
I think that in itself would be just gold because it comes full circle for The Rock. He's in the position his grandfather was in years ago. And then you have him kind of one-upping Roman. Roman gets his due, but The Rock one-ups him. I just think to see the final boss as the High Chief really kind of cramming down Roman's throat really sets up even that match for a WrestleMania
Yeah.
in
Wow.
Vegas because
Do
I
you
think,
think The Rock feels betrayed because Roman did tag team with Cody?
yeah, I mean, The Rock has no love for Cody Rhodes. He said it in his Instagram live because he was walking by the production trucks that have the wrestlers' faces on them, and he showed Stone Cold and was good. Stone Cold's my boy. Got a couple beers for you, brother. And then he said, "Oh, my childhood hero, Dusty Rhodes, love you but hate your son." He just kept that going.
Wow.
So I do think The Rock feels betrayed that he acknowledged Roman as a tribal chief, and since then Roman hasn't done what he said or they thought was going to happen, and is teaming with the enemy. And it's easy to see why The Rock could perceive that as being a betrayal and turning his back on his family versus someone who's fought them for these years since he's been back. So it's just going to set this up for a huge, huge story, and I hope they really capitalize on it because they could really blow this thing bigger than it has been already.
I agree. So let's get your final thoughts on Bad Blood altogether. What did you think of the pay per view? What would you rate it?
Overall, I think Bad Blood was one of the better pay per views they've had this year. Like we said, there really wasn't a match you could get up, stretch, take a piss, make some food, nothing. It was just match after match after match was just super great. And I think um, being that I guess this is their highest grossing, one of their highest grossing PLEs of the year, and their 60th sellout, it just continues to show how red hot they are. And that going into the Netflix era, I think it's only going to get better. and you're only going to be able to do more and unleash more. And I think all in all, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think that's
I would go a little bit higher, just because of all the surprises that we had. I would definitely go 9.2.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go higher than a 9, but it was definitely really good. There was a couple things that just left me about it, but all in all, one of the best pay per views of the year, and I'm excited for Crown Jewel and Survivor Series. What about you?
I am very excited for Crown Jewel and Survivor Series. I wish we got two PLEs every month, but that's just me. I know that'd be hard to do, but
Well, Tony
now
Khan's
that
getting close, so don't worry.
oh my god, we can't go a show without saying his name.
Fuck Tony Khan.
I'm just glad he's not Joe Hendry, where you say his name and he appears. Um, but
That'd be like Beetlejuice.
it would, it would. Don't say Tony Khan three times. But all in all, Bad Blood, great pay per view, PLE, whatever you guys use nowadays. I'm old school, so I always say PPV. But just a great time. We have broken down every match as strategic and statistically as we possibly can. Tommy, you got anything else before we finish up today?
All I gotta say is enjoy the ride that The Rock's gonna take you on. That's what I'm gonna say. We just bring it, baby.
Yes,
Just bring it.
I I can't wait to see how this bloodline story continues to increase. Jimmy was a great surprise last night. I'm just glad that Roman has some backup now, because this kind of makes it a little bit better than him trying to fight off the bloodline every single week by himself, or having to get Cody to do it and yada yada yada. But I think that WWE's in a great spot. I just think now they need to focus on Raw, SmackDown, and make sure that those shows are pumping, and that we're getting our money's worth on those shows.
Yeah, true. Um, I know, Brian, you and I have talked about possibly doing a show like this, so it may not be next week. We'll announce when it is, but I know we're gonna have upcoming. We're gonna break down the Vince McMahon
Yes,
Netflix documentary because it's been out now for over a week. And there's been a lot of opinions and this, that, and the other thing on it. And it's definitely something I know we want to cover and we want to break
yes,
down in detail. Um, it might be one of those two-part series that we do just because there's 6 episodes and it's just a lot of stuff to unpack.
yes.
Um, so when we're going to do that, we'll definitely announce that for you all so you guys can tune in and or listen in wherever you get your podcasts because we're literally everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, you name it. If you can't watch us
Right.
live, but it'll definitely be there, and it's definitely going to be a very interesting series that we'll do. I'll put it that way.
YRW investigates.
Mr. McMahon. Damn right. That's good
Well,
shit.
well, that is our Bad Blood Aftermath show. And we are excited that you stay tuned with us. Make sure that if you have set up podcasts, that you are adding us to your Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. And we will be back next week to talk about Raw, SmackDown, NXT, anything else in the wrestling world. We I want to go a little bit more in depth next week about AEW's deal with Max. It's going to be an interesting thing, and we'll talk more about that next week. But as the details are slowly coming out about this deal, and will it help AEW or not? That's going to be the question. So we'll get into that a little bit more next week as well. But for Yankee Tommy, I am Rebel Brian, and you have just been leg swept by the best wrestling podcast on the planet, and that is Yankee Rebel Wrestlecast. We will see you guys next week. Make sure that you are continuing to watch all wrestling products and enjoy the ride, as Tommy said. We will see you next week, everybody.
Goodbye.